So this question is 13D. Carmen and Tuba wrote down the final story rather than getting the participants to write it down themselves. Explain why this might have been a mistake. So this question is asking for two parts. It's asking you to identify what the problem is within the stem, and it's also asking you to explain why that's a problem. Okay, so the fact that Carmen and Tuba wrote down the final story suggests that they might have had an effect on the results. So there are several ways that we could have answered this. Not many of us went for demand characteristics. So the fact that Tuba and Carmen were there within the study taking down those findings from the participants means that there's a much higher potential for the participants to guess the aim of the study. So if you as an investigator are going in and you are doing the test and you are getting those results, there's much more of a high chance that the participants will guess the aim of the study and will therefore change their behaviour as a result. So you could have said, so it could have been that they caused demand characteristics. So participants said what Carmen and Tuba wanted, as opposed to giving accurate information. Also, Carmen and Tuba might differ in the accuracy of their recall. So if they're both going down and writing the information down, how do we know that we've got that consistency between those two investigators? So there might have been a difference between their results, and it's not asking us for this, but if it was to ask you how to overcome this, you'd obviously get them to compare the results. The one that most of us chose is because Carmen and Tuba might make mistakes when they write down the story, so they might introduce errors that weren't there in the first place. So that might have been an issue. So this is an answer from Susan, which says that Carmen and Tuba may have misheard the participants and wrote something down incorrectly. That would get the first mark. This would affect the reliability of the results because participants may have remembered it correctly, but the researchers wrote it down wrong, making it inaccurate. Okay, so what we've talked about there is we have started by identifying why it's a mistake. So there might have been a mishearing in terms of the participants' answers, but then she's gone on to explain how that would affect the results. So most of us have got 1 mark because you've identified why it's a mistake, but you haven't explained how that might affect the results.